Now broadcasting from the Next Gen Conservative Studio in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report with Sam Whitfield.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Whitfield Report podcast. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, recording here at NGC Studios, as always, for another weekly edition of the Thursday audio podcast. Although, to be fair, I have been off the last couple weeks because I've been working hard on my senior capstone project for my college major, and I actually got that done this week, and as it turns out, I did very well on that. But I was working on that for the vast majority of this semester, and because of that, I was only doing the Saturday show there for a while. But now I'm back. I'm actually on break this week, so I'm going to try and do some more episodes for you guys, and I actually have a new podcasting setup here. I got a new microphone that connects to my iPad Pro, so I can record professionally. So hopefully it sounds good to you guys. I did a couple of test runs. It sounds pretty good to me. But let me know what you guys think of the audio quality. Shoot me a tweet or hit me up on Instagram or however you guys want to contact me. And speaking of contact info, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @somebody_NGC, hashtag Whitfield Report, Gab, Parler, and Minds at Sam Whitfield, Facebook.com/The Whitfield Report, and thesamwhitfield.com. As always, since you're listening to this on audio, please subscribe and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts from. And we greatly appreciate that. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Whitfield Report, so that you can catch the Saturday live stream show that we do. Which, speaking of, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for those of you who tune into this last Saturday's broadcast. We had a power outage last weekend that took the power out temporarily, but it really it fucked up my internet connection for about a day or so, actually, leading into Sunday, into Easter Sunday. So I wasn't able to finish the live stream on Saturday, as most of you know. So I am sorry about that, and like I said, I'm sorry I haven't been able to do the Thursday show in a while. I've just been busy, but nevertheless, here we are. And folks, it's been a while since we've done Pop Culture Thursday. This is usually where we take a look at what I've been watching, and what else is going on in the pop culture sphere. And we have a relatively heavy show regarding Marvel today. Now, as many of you guys know, I did in fact cancel my Disney Plus subscription earlier this year because, among other things, such as the, Uyghur concentration camps, partnership that Disney did with, China, supporting the CCP and all of that. Disney fired Gina Carano wrongfully, and they've been propagating social justice material and just being overall hypocrites. So I did cancel my Disney Plus subscription for the year. However, I still have until November to, until that runs out. So, even though I canceled the subscription, I'm still going to use it while I have it. My reasoning is, why not? Disney already has my money for the year, so I might as well use the time I have left to critique some of their material. Now, I will say this, WandaVision, I never actually did a review of that, and I'm going to here in a bit. And Winter Soldier, I'm also going to review. We're 3 episodes in now, so I want to talk about that. And then I also want to talk about this whole thing that's going on with Marvel Comics itself. Yes, the actual comic book division. So first off, let's start with WandaVision, my review on that. And I have to say that objectively, from where I'm sitting, I don't think the series was that bad. I know that some critics are saying that the ending was kind of a letdown, and I kind of agree that the ending was weak, that they could have maybe done something else, that it really, the ending was a bit of a disappointment, I will say that, but the initial setup that they had for WandaVision of it taking place throughout the different decades of kind of, sitcoms, starting off in the 50s and going into the 60s, then in the 70s and 80s. I actually like that concept. And I like it because this was something that Disney did outside the box. One of the things I have always kind of criticized the MCU for is that, after the first few Wave movies in Wave 1 and Wave 2, Marvel kind of got formulaic after they finished the Captain America and Iron Man trilogies. They got, pretty predictable in terms of how things were paced. There always had to be like a lighthearted, kind of jokey feel to it. And it just got to be very predictable. And I said this a few years ago on the podcast before, Disney Plus came out, right as it was about to, that I was hoping that this would be an opportunity for Disney and Marvel to do something different creatively. And the long story short, at least in the beginning of WandaVision, I feel that they did. They really, kind of turned kind of our expectations of what the MCU would be on its head in regards to the fact that WandaVision, in large part, was a mystery box. Why I wanted Vision in this, town out in New Jersey. Where are they? Why does time keep shifting? All that. The setup was good initially, and I actually enjoyed the intrigue of it at first. I know that some people thought it was weird. It was a little too Twilight Zone-ish for some people, but I liked that aspect of it. Where it began to fall apart for me, I guess, was later on in the series towards the very end, when you find out that Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch, is the kind of the villain of her own show, because she has in fact been mind controlling these people in this town that she's in. And we also find out that the vision that she that's been with her is something that she conjured up with her powers, because she's grieving the loss of the real Vision, who's been dead, and so she kind of reanimated Vision's corpse, and did a whole Weekend at Bernie's thing with him. And so that was one of the predictions that kind of, was out there midway through season, and yeah, that kind of happened. And for what it's worth, I actually liked the idea that Wanda could have been a Vision. that Wanda could have been a villain, of the show. They may still do something with that in Doctor Strange 2. There is a possibility of that. And I know that Agatha Harkness is a villain in Marvel Comics, but that's kind of where I feel that is kind of where I feel that the show went downhill a bit, was towards the end. Right? Because, like I said, I like the idea of Wanda becoming the villain of the show and kind of turning to the dark side, so to speak, in her moment of grief. And I think it would have been really impactful for us to see someone who is a hero, in the MCU, particularly, a female character in the MCU, a well-known female character, become a villain or villainess and, switch sides in the MCU after all these years. They kind of started to go down that road a bit, but then they chickened out on that at the very end and said, oh, it was Agatha Harkness, all along, and she was the one who was controlling everything. No, she's not the one that killed, Vision. That was Thanos. She's not the one who, forced Scarlet Witch to take the people in that town hostage, right? She may have taken advantage of Scarlet Witch's, grief, but Scarlet Witch herself still kind of was the villain, ultimately, of WandaVision, of her own show. And, kind of like how Darth Vader, even though Emperor Palpatine, even though Darth Sidious was the mastermind behind everything, Darth Vader was still an evil, character up until he had his redemption arc, right? And I feel like they kind of skipped over giving Wanda, they kind of tried to ignore the fact that she, did in fact take people hostage and that she did in fact mind control people. And it didn't really seem like there was much of, consequence for her turning evil, so to speak. Right? I don't know. That just kind of, maybe I'm nitpicking a bit, but it kind of seemed like they copped out there with that. So, WandaVision, it's been over for a few weeks now, and that's why I'm okay, doing a spoiler review. Ultimately, I wouldn't say it's not bad. I think it's okay. Like I said, I think it started out strong and then kind of, fizzled out there towards the end. And I think, one of the reasons why it was so successful too was because we had to wait every, week to see a new episode and see how the story would unfold. And I am kind of curious now to know, how people would react to the show if it were released all in one season, like we got with a lot of the Marvel Netflix series. Right? Had WandaVision been released all in one sitting, would it have been as impactful? I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe it would have. Part of me thinks maybe it would have been, mediocre. It would have been more received as more mediocre had it been released all in one sitting. But that is, that's kind of my overall review of it. Started strong, ended weak. Is it worth checking out if you have Disney Plus? I mean, if if you haven't already seen it and you're curious as to what it is, sure, why not? But it is, it's not must-see TV in my opinion. And if somehow you haven't seen it yet and you're, listening to this podcast, I spoiled the entire plot for you. So there you go. But one thing that I'll try not to spoil too much of is Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we're still in the middle of. We're on episode 4 this week, I believe, as of Friday. And Falcon and Winter Soldier looked like it had a lot of promise based on the trailers that I saw for it when it was first announced on Disney+. As most of you know, I love spy thrillers, right? I'm a big James Bond fan, and I'm a big fan of, political thrillers, military dramas in general. So you would think that the, Falcon and Winter Soldier show would be right at my alley. And so far, I have to say, I'm left wanting. It doesn't seem like an espionage thriller, kind of like they've made it out to be in the trailers. I'm actually still unclear as to what it's supposed to be at this point, because on the one hand, it kind of started out like a military thriller at the beginning, but then it kind of started to become a whole social commentary on Black Lives Matter and whatnot, and it got politicized just like everything else. And I'm gonna sit through it and see how it ends, but I'm not liking the the overt social justice overtones that because of the snap or whatever, black people are being racially, disparaged, right? The snap is affecting everyone in the MCU, and the fact that they're trying to, further wedge in a Black Lives Matter agenda so blatantly, they're not even trying to hide it at this point. And so, it's annoying. Is it going to turn me off from the show entirely? Not really. As I've said before in the past, I mean, we're pretty much conditioned now that most of everything that's going to come out of Hollywood, and in particular Disney, is going to have a left-wing slant, so you kind of have to deal with that anyway, right? But regardless, it is annoying. I'm hoping that they can kind of shift away from that in future episodes. I will say this, it hasn't been in your face as much as it could be, but it still is, annoying. Even to the people who aren't really, politically attuned I've talked to, they're kind of like, yeah, this is blatant politicization. I don't really like it. So, so far I would give Falcon and Winter Soldier a B-. I would give WandaVision a C+. So, we'll see, what goes on with those series. Now, to the news of the week in regards to the culture war. So, Ta-Nehisi Coates, for those of you who aren't familiar with who he is a Black Lives Matter activist, and he's very far left, and I would say he is blatantly racist. he is a black supremacist, in my view, and there's pretty, there's pretty damn good evidence that he is a black supremacist because he's written several books on critical race theory, which is a racist concept in and of itself. We talked on the live stream podcast a few weeks ago about how Governor DeSantis actually has banned critical race theory from the K through 12 education system. Thank God for that. But Ta-Nehisi Coates, who has been this Black Lives Matter activist, has also started writing comics for Marvel. And he's going to be writing for DC too, I believe. In fact, there are rumors that he could be actually writing and directing a Superman movie in the next few years. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to that later, possibly. But he has been writing for Marvel Comics. Now, what's interesting is this guy is, an academic, quote unquote. He hasn't really had a, comic book background in my research. I haven't found anything on him that suggests that he has any background in comic books prior to like a year and a half ago when he started writing Captain America. And the reason why I bring him up is one of the latest issues of Captain America that he wrote basically suggests that Red Skull, who is Captain America's arch nemesis and also, pretty much the big bad from Hydra, which Hydra in the Marvel universe is basically like, they're the Nazi, they're the Nazis for all intended purposes, right? So, obviously, in today's context, Red Skull is alt-right, so to speak, right? And, Ta-Nehisi Coates has basically made Red Skull like a right-wing demagogue, but more specifically, in the most recent issue of Captain America, Ta-Nehisi Coates basically suggested that Red Skull is Jordan Peterson, right? I haven't read this story yet, but apparently there is an arc in which Red Skull gets on YouTube and starts, putting out all these propaganda videos, and then he writes this book called 10 Rules for Life, or something like that, which, for those of you who are familiar with Jordan Peterson has a book called 12 Rules for Life. So, Ta-Nehisi Coates is essentially suggesting that Jordan Peterson is an alt-right, neo-Nazi, right, which is laughable. Say what you will about Jordan Peterson, I think he's a little overrated myself personally, but a neo-Nazi, Jordan Peterson certainly isn't. But see, this is what you get with current Marvel comics. And with most of Hollywood, per se, anything that doesn't conform to the far, far left is automatically alt-right. So even people who would consider themselves liberal, or would have considered themselves liberal just a few years ago, because they're not far left-wing radicals, they're now considered neo-Nazis. And this is why you have so many fans of comics and of science fiction and of nerd culture basically bowing out now and refusing to support these companies and canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, canceling their subscriptions to Paramount. They're not buying comic merchandise anymore that's current, and the reason being is the comic book industry has basically become politicized far to the left, and the industry is now saying that their own fans, the people who have supported them for years, the straight heterosexual male that makes up the majority of nerd fandom and gamer culture, they're basically calling us all toxic men and saying that we have no place in fandom anymore, even though we've been the ones who have been buying comics for decades. And here's the thing, other than writing this propaganda, right, Ta-Nehisi Coates and all these social justice warriors who are influencing Hollywood and who are influencing pop culture, they may write this stuff, right? They may try and promote it, but they don't actually buy it themselves, right? Like I said, Ta-Nehisi Coates is a quote-unquote academic. I bet you he doesn't know a damn thing about Marvel Comics, about Captain America, about the history of the comic book. And if he does, he probably hates everything that it stands for. That's why he's, cucking Captain America and making, all the villains all right. And now there are rumors that he could be going to DC. And there are rumors that are, growing that he wants to write a script for a Superman trilogy in which Superman is a black man, right? Which did happen in like one of the DC Elseworlds stories. That did happen in the 80s, but I guess Ta-Nehisi Coates wants to get rid of Clark Kent and wants to make this new Superman that's probably more woke, more more down with identity politics and whatnot. And I just have to say it's a real damn shame if this happens. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I actually really liked the Snyder Cut, and I might do a extended review on that, maybe as like a bonus podcast, because there's a lot that I want to get into with the Snyder Cut that I can't get into on this episode specifically, just because there's so much to unpack. But I think Ta-Nehisi Coates and all these SJWs who are infiltrating Marvel and who are infiltrating the comic industry, they've destroyed our fandom, and they've destroyed our, entertainment. And now we as fans need to, fight back and say enough is enough. We're not gonna, support you guys anymore. And luckily there are creators who are, building their own, independent, like, comic books and whatnot, which is good. But we also need to get some of our people on the inside of the industry as well. And we need to bring the people at DC Comics and Marvel our own story ideas, for our beloved characters. And, show them that traditional superheroes, still sell instead of this woke shit that's going on out there. But anyway, so that's an overview of kind of what's going on in the world of pop culture. So like I said, just a very quick Thursday podcast. I am kind of doing this late in the evening, so I want to get it posted, before the day ends, and it's Thursday, and it's Friday. I know a bunch of you will listen to this on Friday, most likely, but I still wanted to get it out there for you guys on Thursday. So anyway, once again, folks, thank you for listening to the podcast, and let me know what you think of my new setup. How does it sound? Hopefully it sounds good for you. And folks, I'll be back for the Saturday edition of the show. We may have a guest this week. And then on Sunday evening, I do want to make this announcement real quick. I will be on Jacob Downey's YouTube live stream on Sunday night at 9 p.m. And he'll be interviewing me about, my experience with podcasting and, kind of being in the culture war and everything. So I will, I'll link to that on my Twitter on, Sunday. So stay tuned for that. And, folks, this may have been a short episode, but nevertheless, I want to thank you all for joining me on this episode. And until Saturday night, God bless, God save this great nation, God, freedom, legacy in that order, and I will talk to you down the road.
Thanks for listening to The Whitfield Report on the NGC Network. Please visit Sam's website at www.thesamwhitfield.com and support Sam on Patreon at patreon.com/Whitfield Report. Until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, and God, freedom, legacy in that order.